was a part of my life where I was an artist and I was an actor in New York. And then there's a part of my job where that changed. And the time that changed was September 11th for me. In the first part of my job, I was sort of this theater artist, bilingual theater artist in New York City, working in the theater, doing the theater thing, the actors, in that community. It's funny that you said in the 90s people were realizing that America was being Latinized, but the same issues of talent were happening at that time. I was only being seen for drug addicts, the woman in the the ghetto, the ghetto mom, the gang girl, the single parent teenage, all the stereotypes of Latino, what it is, that media piece. And I did some, I worked. I have a great trajectory of a resume in the work of being an artist. But at one point I wanted to mix my artist work with my love of education. And so that's when I entered the field of teaching artists and arts and education. So I started at Henry Street Settlement, working in their arts and education, and primarily in the Lower East Side. And then I worked then actually I came to the Jewish Museum of Florida to work in their education department. Then I went back, and then I joined dancing classrooms, and that was ballroom dance in the public schools, and I was there for 6 years. And I think there I honed sort of my muscles as an educator in the arts, but because we saw almost all the schools in the New York City public school system, I got to see everything. From Bay Ridge to Brooklyn to Williamsburg to the Marcy area, the Bronx, you name it. And that gave me an incredible skill of being able to understand cultures, communities, building programs. It also honed my skill as a leader, understanding how to be a leader, how to be a follower, how to deal with things that happen in communities or schools, because they're very unique. Then from there, I was recruited to join Ballet Hispanico. I don't know why dance has claimed me, but dance has claimed me. The dance community is always like, because I'm a theater artist. So I joined Ballet Hispanico, and I was brought in as their director of community engagement. Actually, their director of education. And after 4 months, one day my boss at the time, the artistic director, Eduardo Vilaro, was like, we have a really good relationship, and he called me on the phone and he was like, AnaMaria, I don't have time to plan this out, but our school director is leaving. Can you think about a plan for a solution to this problem? And I'm like, okay. So I came up with a plan and I gave it to him. And he said, come up to my office. And I went to his office and he was like, listen, that plan that you sent me, I think the school director should be you. And I was like, oh. He was like, yeah, you, I think, are perfect. And it's interesting, in my list of goals, one of them was to be a director of a school. It was my dream to be a school principal. So I became the school director and the senior director of community engagement, both things, and I ran both departments. Big job. And I traveled with the company. And there was also the beginning of my doctoral work. And there I grew immensely as a leader. And then I wanted to test out my academic knowledge, my scholarly sort of racial aware, like all that was happening in my PhD, and my love of kids. So then I decided to go and join a school, to be in a school setting. And that's when I was part of an independent school in New York, and I was their diversity officer as well as their senior director of community engagement. I worked for the Avenues World School. And then I was recruited to join Miami City Ballet, and I swear to God, this is what they said. They called me and they said, we know you love your job. And I go, okay. So I don't talk to recruiters, but okay. But we want you to consider this job because these are the specs. We need a bilingual person, preferably a woman of color or a person of color, who knows Miami, who is comfortable in schools, who has run a school of dance, who has been in a dance company, and has the gravitas as a leader to lead an emerging department in an established organization. Here I am. Being a New Yorker and working so much in communities, I really, I wasn't connected to Miami City Ballet. So I said, well, I got to see what the leadership is, because then that's the only way I'm coming. And then when I saw Lourdes's, and then I did the research, I was like, at this point in my career, I wanted to be around incredible leaders. I did not, and I wanted to be, I'm part of the leadership team here, so I wasn't coming in a support capacity. And so that was, okay, I'll fly down to interview. And then they brought me here. And I love Miami. Miami is my happy place. Miami is the sanctuary. People go to the Hamptons in New York, I would come to Miami. I honeymooned here. My parents honeymooned as well here. They honeymooned at the Fontainebleau. I mean, I have history here from like when I had big hair in the 80s. Before the gentrification of South Beach, I've been coming here.